Okay. I've had exposure to both sets of women. Women who use wisdom to find their husbands, and there's also women who choose survival mechanism to choose their mates. And all I have to do is look at the results. All I have to do is look at the fruit. What did these people bear that these people didn't? You know, those women who use wisdom had to get better so they can understand the nature of their particular man and who's leading that man. You know, if a man is being led by God, he needs a different type of nurturer. He needs someone who understands, someone who actually moves when God says moves, and she has to be okay with that. And sometimes that looks uncomfortable. Sometimes that doesn't look like glamorous. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes that stuff doesn't look fruitful. But if a man knows God, he knows that he does not reap in the same season that he sows. You know, that is where faith comes in. That is where faith comes in. Now, look at the other side. The people on the other side who use survival, they try to reap in the same season that they sow. And what they do is they cut off their season in their future to reap in the season that they're in right now. They don't set aside seeds for the future to grow their family tree like the other side did. Two different temperaments. They want the same, but how they go about it is different.
Man, that is good. It's a matter of, if you look at it from the farming perspective, if you look at it from, educational standpoint, if you look at it from trying to build from the ground up, all of it is a process. The microwave kind of set us back in the aspect of wanting it now. The remote was supposed to be a very good invention, but it set us back in this form of we got to have it now. High speed internet changed the perspective of we got to have it now. You have Burger King that says you can have it your way, right? And that's the things that you're referring to kind of lean to the perspective of that people really believe that if it doesn't work right now, then it will never work.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, well, as I've seen it in my own life, that everything takes time. There are some people that are one hit wonders and then they never recover from that, and they only stay in that one hit wonder space, and they don't even make another hit, right? And then there are other people that, they had to grind until they can't became who it is that they are, and then they're still evolving and will become better. And so I would say that is, as the Bible says, that's a sanctification process where you're going to have the trials and errors. But in the trials and error, that's the other thing that I was learning as well, is that where I'm at now, I should be able to be okay because I've always been okay. Whether it was, having my car wreck when I was 19, thank God I survived that. To the point of where I thought I was gonna be out of college, where God made a way there. Um, Even to the point of, my late wife, she only had one ovary but had four kids, right? Or to the point that I lost my wife, and then God brought me somebody else, right? So, and then it's financial. I didn't do well for a little bit, and then it came to a point where just being very steady and constant, where I'm not a rich guy, but I'm by no means poor, right? I would say that I'm in the middle class, literally. You know what I'm saying? I'm in the more and above average. And so I'm thankful for that. So that makes sense. People that are listening, appreciate the process, because when you don't appreciate the process, you're going to pretty much hate yourself almost all the time, because you're aiming you're thinking about the goal and not appreciating where you currently are. Bible talks about that, right? Be content in where you are. Yeah, to be content to in where you are. I think that's a good space. I would ask the question: in what ways can men challenge each other to live at a higher standard? without shaming?
They should celebrate the victories along the way, man. You know, there's a certain perfection in the journey. You know, it's kind of like when you learn math. The
Okay.
first thing they teach you is addition, you know, then they teach you subtraction, then they teach you multiplication, then they teach you division, you know.
Yeah,
Those are basically the foundations of math.
that's a fact.
Yeah. And then after that, you can get creative. You can start putting in numbers and letters that represent numbers and try to figure out exactly, well, what does this mean? Algebra, calculus, you know?
Yeah.
Those are the fancy versions of math. But if we don't get down to the basics, we don't celebrate the basics, then how can we appreciate when math really gets hard, you know? The beauty comes in when you prepare yourself, when you've done the basic stuff. So therefore, when the hard stuff arrives and you can't see your way out, you can always rely on your fundamentals.
Mm,
You can always rely on your fundamentals. I think men need to get better at being well at fundamentals. Saying thank you, appreciate you, you're welcome. Is there anything I can do for you? You know, those type of things, the basics. You know what I mean? How are you today? Really? Can I sit down and talk to you for a minute? Those are the basics.
that is outstanding. That is outstanding because I think that has brought me, specifically me, to a very good place of how people see me to some degree, right? Like it's twofold, right? I do have the thank you, I appreciate you. Um, what can I do for you? What is it that I even asked my kids? I said, what is it that you need from me today, this week? I asked my wife that this week as well. And then at the same time, I'm gonna just be transparent with the audience. I had received an incredible blessing by closing on a house um, a week ago, week and a half ago, right? Almost 2 weeks ago. And I did not do a good job of appreciating the blessing that God gave me. And it did not sit well with me. And so had contacted one of my homies, and he held me accountable. He said, listen, bro, you definitely need to appreciate the times that you have a victory. You need to appreciate the times that you have a victory because you don't know the next time that you're going to get one. So why not celebrate it? And what's crazy is my wife had helped me celebrate it that particular day. However, all I could think about is how many bills I'm gonna have to pay with this, right? As opposed to saying, thank God that I have this additional funds to pay for this, right? And and also I think what is missing from men is the where is the standard? Who is the standard? And for some reason, individuals are not able to see that these entertainers, some of these pastors, and in between are not the standard. But for me, it's the Bible. Like the Bible is the standard if you want to know what leadership looks like, right? When Jesus was on earth and when he was not on earth, there are all types of leaders that you can look to. Me and Miss Taken was talking about it last week about how, or this week actually, about how she wasn't really sure about whether any men scriptures about how to be a better man or husband or something to that.
Yeah, I remember
Okay,
that.
yeah, that's right. That's right, right. The Proverbs 31 man, if you will, right? And I remember communicating to her. I think I want to say that I talked to her about that there are all types of scriptures and examples of men having to take leadership and make sure that they take care of their wives and their kids and their community, right? So I think that if more men, I'm gonna ask you this question: if more men would get into the Bible, I think that they will see a lot of their character and integrity and morals change. What do you say to the men that say, "I think I would prefer going to Islam"?
I would tell them start with Christ first.
Really?
Yeah, because you got to have a blueprint. You got to have something. You got to have a standard. You know what I mean? I don't. I told the guys on the podcast the other day, and they were talking about how people love to come for Christians. You know what I told them? I said people love to, come after the original.
That that is a bar. That is a bar. People
People
love
love to come after the original.
they do.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that. And I told them if you read it long enough, you'll find out why. Because the original requires you to be better. The original requires you to be patient. The original requires you to be kind, to be long suffering, you know.